Good evening. I'm going to call to order the Alvin City Council meeting for Thursday, April 4th, 2024. The time is 7 p.m. I'd like to start off with the invocation and the pledge. We have Mr. Gonzalez. Are you here to do the invocation for us? Thank you very much. If you'd come forward.
We pray for your blessings on tonight's proceedings. May your wisdom and guidance be in everything that is said and done. I thank you for all the men and women that dedicate time and energy serving in city government. Be with our thin blue line and first responders that daily put their lives in danger to protect and serve our community. I pray that Alvin, Texas can be an example of Psalm 133, verse 1, where the Bible says how wonderful and pleasant it is when brothers live together in harmony. I pray that the spirit of harmony not only permeate this room, but our entire community. Help us to be good neighbors, looking out for one another with kindness and compassion, and we will be careful to give you all the honor and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. All right. Going to our presentations. We have two presentations this evening. The first one is going to be for Child Abuse Awareness Month proclamation, and the second one will be for Public Safety Telecommunications Week proclamation for April 14th through 20th, 2024. Who's here with child abuse awareness? Y'all can all come up here if you want to.
Don't be shy, come on. Come stand behind me.
Yeah. Yeah, if y'all all make your way around this way, and then when we're done, we'll take a picture.
Okay.
All right. The Office of the Mayor of City of Alvin, Texas proclamation. Whereas Bikers Against Child Abuse Incorporated, BACA, has existed since 1995 with the intent to create a safer environment for abused children, and whereas countless children have been supported by BACA chapters such as Jenna Quinn, author of Jenner's Law, and victim of abuse that was adopted by BACA and supported by them throughout her journey. And whereas during the month of April, we recognize the importance of communities working with organizations like BACA to shield children from further abuse, to help to empower them to not feel afraid of the world in which they live. And therefore, I, Chris Vaughn, as Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Alvin, Texas, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Child Abuse Awareness Month.
Oh, there she is. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Alvin.
telecommunications officers.
Don't be shy. Let's get them all up there. Hey, all y'all, come on. You know how they like hiding.
Yeah.
Diane, that includes you.
I'm gonna move so they can see you.
Come on, come on. All right, there we go.
Very good. All right. Office of the Mayor of City of Alvin, Texas, proclamation. Whereas emergencies that require police, fire, or emergency medical services can occur at any time. Whereas where an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, paramedics is critical to the protection of life and the preservation of property. And whereas an emergency occurs, telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the city of Alvin have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore I, Chris Vaughn, as Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Alvin, Texas, and on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of April 14th through 20th of 2024 as Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Always run out of breath.
Is he got the stroke out? Getting a proclamation?
Yeah, it's not stroke out. All right, no public comment this evening? All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. Consider approval of the March 21st, 2024 City Council meeting minutes.
I don't have anything to pull, sir.
No, nothing?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion passes unanimously. Items as approved are the minutes from March 21st City Council meeting. The next item is to consider an agreement with McKinstry through the Interlocal Purchasing System TIPS Cooperative Purchasing Network for the replacement of the building automation system for the Recreation Center in an amount not to exceed $103,636, and authorize the city manager to sign related documents upon legal review. The next item is consider a master preliminary plat of Preservation Creek Phase 3 located along the south side of Farm to Market 1462, 1 mile east of State Highway 288 intersection, being planned unit development of 114.61 acres. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. All right, moving on to other business. A was consider an interlocal agreement between the City of Alvin and the Rosharon Volunteer Fire Department for the protection services for the Preservation Creek subdivision. Development area from April 15th, 2024 through December 31st, 2024 for an amount not to exceed $12,000, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement upon legal review. Kendall?
Thank you. This is an agreement between to provide fire protection, fire and rescue services to the Preservation Creek development area in the development phase of it. The reasoning is that Rosharon's fire department, they can get a truck there in about 3 or 4 minutes. It's about 2.9 miles, where our closest station is about 10 miles away. So it takes us about 12 to 13 minutes to get a truck. So it's about a 3 times longer response to get to this area. This will be reviewed on an annual basis, based on the number of calls and development in that area, but they have agreed to cover this section of the city limits.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
We haven't had any calls out there so far that we know of.
Had one grass fire, a small grass fire. Rose Sharon was there before we ever got out of the city limits.
Okay.
So-
And they'll be able to provide us if we have any request of how many calls that they've made within
Yes,
that
sir.
calendar year, and then that would be a part of the assessment every
Yes.
year.
Yes.
And
And this is outside of the ESD, their ESD coverage, contract coverage.
Right, I understand that. So that's in the side, and they're coming inside, and we're contracted with them to come inside of our city limits.
Yes, sir.
To provide services. And, each subsequent year after that is gonna come back to council, or,
Yes, sir.
okay. Good.
Why is this 8 months versus a year?
It was supposed to be a year, but by the time we got all the details worked out and went through the discussion with Rose Sharon, and it just knocked off a couple of months off of it, a few months off of it.
So we'll be asked to renew it in December?
Yes, sir.
And if I can just, it actually says that it shall be automatically renewed every year unless it's terminated, but it'll be something that we do every year to just make sure. The renewal will come before you. You'll have to approve the renewal contract, but yeah. So it's an automatic renewal. Yeah, shall be renewed annually. So we'll review it probably in December to renew in January.
There may be some discussion if there's a whole lot of calls in that area that, and we'll, look at that when we get to, right now, there's not a lot out there to protect except grass, and some construction equipment. But, with the development coming, there'll be more and more.
Yeah, it is just grass out there right now, and I noticed in the contract, it says, that the fire chief for Rose Sharon is gonna provide fire prevention activities, and so, just between you and me, you can go back and ask him what that actually is.
At the renewal time, would council have the option to amend it if necessary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Just the term of it would automatically renew, but yes, we'll be able to go, if it needs to be changed, the amount needs to be changed, or anything like that, then yes.
And I believe it says in there that both sides can terminate it at any time.
Yeah.
Mayor, move to approve an interlocal agreement between the City of Alvin and the Rosharon Volunteer Fire Department for the fire protection services for the Preservation Creek Subdivision Development Area from April 15th, 2024 through December 31st, 2024 for an amount not to exceed $12,000, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement upon legal review.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. All right, item B, consider a license agreement for exclusive use of city property between the City of Alvin and the Veterans Foreign War Post 5237 for barbecue cook-off car show and live music at Briscoe Park from Thursday, May 2nd, 2024 to Sunday, May 5th, 2024, with the actual event scheduled for Friday, May 3rd through Saturday, May 4th, 2024, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement upon legal review.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Council, so the VFW has done numerous fundraising events. This is the first one of its kind for them, being hosted at Briscoe Park, similar to Music Fest in the sense that they're using the park and they're asking the city, number one, for permission to fence off a particular area, charge admission, and ultimately sell alcohol in that particular area and consume alcohol. So relatively similar, not any, I would not say nearly the scope and scale of Music Fest, but it is certainly similar in the agreement styled for that organization. But for your consideration, we have Commander Kyle from the VFW is here to handle, help with any questions. But we ask for your approval tonight for the license agreement.
Thank you. Any questions?
Does the city provide anything for them?
I believe in here they've requested, similar to Music Fest, they've requested $1,500 reimbursement for restroom They've asked, again, for a fire marshal time for inspections, road closures, so barricades, obviously the waiving of the fees, and picnic tables, yes, things like that.
Has the park gotten fixed from Music Fest?
Not entirely, no, sir. We're still working with Sunrise Rotary. We appreciate the quick response, but we're still continuing to work with them. It was, as y'all know, it was wet, and so that causes some strained conditions.
Great, thank you, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Move to approve a license agreement for the exclusive use of city property between the City of Alvin and the Veterans of Foreign War Post 5237 for a fundraising event, including barbecue cook-off, car show, and other entertainment at Briscoe Park from May 2nd, 2024 to May 5th, 2024, with the actual event scheduled for Friday, May 3rd, 2024 through Saturday, May 4th, and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement upon legal review.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, item C, consider ordinance 24-K of the City Council of the City of Alvin, Texas, amending ordinance 23-V, passed and approved September 7th, 2023, same being an ordinance approving and adopting the City of Alvin's budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024 by approving a budget amendment to the original 2023-2024 budget. I didn't read that twice, did I? Providing for supplemental appropriation and/or transfer of funds for the purpose of amending the budget of the General Capital Projects Fund by $70,629 to fund the construction and installation of a porte-cochere to the east side entrance of the Alvin Senior Center at 309 West Sealing, providing for severability and providing for the other matters related thereto. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Pro Tem, Council. So we have a final design, and we received the proposal, and so we need the additional funds to do construct the porte-cochere, so we're asking for those funds tonight. And this is at the Senior Center on the east end side of the building.
What is the purpose of the porch?
Okay, so the porte-cochere, so what we want to do is extend, I guess, a shelter, if you will, towards the street, the Hood Street side. If you'll recall, Actions currently has a bus. They provide transportation, and many of those seniors, I say many, several of those seniors that participate or ride in that bus, they're disabled, wheelchair and walker. And so this porte-cochere will extend out, and the bus will be able to pull up right underneath it, just underneath it, and allow them to offload, being sheltered from the elements.
The bus will be able, or the van, be able to actually pull underneath the protection? Or
Yes,
is it gonna be sitting out?
It will be high enough where the bus can get underneath there, but again, the way that it's designed, the bus will not be entirely underneath the awning, as there'll be some structural supports. So to answer your question, it'll be high enough where the bus could fit underneath, but it will only be the portion needed to offload, so the door, if you will.
Right, okay. I just wanna make sure, because that's the disabled, that they're gonna be protected from the elements.
Yes, sir.
And I had originally heard that the height was not sufficient for
That's-
that van to get close.
That's correct, and
Okay.
we went back to the engineer on that, yes, sir.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mayor, move to approve ordinance 24K of the City Council of the City of Alvin, Texas, amending ordinance 23-V, passed and approved September 7, 2023. Same being an ordinance approving and adopting the City of Alvin's budget for fiscal year 23-24 by approving a budget amendment to the original 23-24 budget, providing for supplemental appropriation and/or transfer of funds for the purpose of amending the budget of the General Capital Projects Fund by $70,629 to fund the construction and installation of a porte-cochere to the east side entrance of the Alvin Senior Center, 309 West Sealy, providing for severability and providing for other matters related thereto.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. One more. All right, item D, consider a variance request from the City of Alvin Parks and Recreation Department to encroach 18 feet into the 25-foot building setback along the east side of the City of Alvin Senior Center located at 309 West Sealy Street for the construction of a porte-cochere.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So Dan, as he already explained here just a few moments ago, we received a variance request from Parks and Rec back on March the 6th of last month to encroach into a 25-foot building line setback off of Hood Street. That would be the east side of the senior center. Dan and I presented this to our planning commission on March the 19th, a couple weeks ago, resulted in a unanimous decision in favor of granting the variance. Dan's already kind of given you the backstory as to, you know, the nature of the structure. Given how the downtown area is kind of laid out, you have kind of minimal building setbacks or zero lot lines that are there currently. So the 18-foot encroachment would essentially match what you would call the adjacent Jody's Hair Salon, where that sits, along with the feed store and the retail buildings that kind of go along Sealy Street and Hood. So we're giving Dan up to 18 feet to match that. And the impacts from building this porte-cochere is that we end up losing about 4 standard parking spots. We keep our ADA parking spots, but of course the benefit of that is that now the seniors that are non-ambulatory can load and unload on the same side of the building where their facilities are at, and they don't have to traverse from the west side of the building to the east side, interrupt other programs that are going on during that time. So on behalf of both of us, we appreciate the consideration for the variance, and I'll open it up to any questions that you guys might have.
No?
Mayor, move to approve a variance request from the City of Alvin, Texas. Parks and Recreation Department to encroach 18 feet into a 20-foot building setback along the east side of the City of Alvin Senior Center, located at 309 West Sealy Street for the construction of a porte-cochere. My glasses are messed up, okay? Crochet, yeah. Yeah.
Just a second. You did.
Motion passes unanimously.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks,
you all.
guys.
Thank you guys.
All right, item E. No kidding.
Thanks for putting the cash in the porte-cochere.
All right,
We're waiting all day for that one.
nice, nice.
How long,
Waiting
when
for
did you
that.
think about that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, moving to item E. Consider an agreement with Horizon International Group through the Choice Partners Job Order Contract, JOC, Cooperative Purchasing Network to construct a porte-cochere extending from the east side of the assembly room entrance of the senior center in an amount not to exceed $132,130, and authorize the city manager to sign related documents upon legal review.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Council, so this is the construction portion of this, call it a 3-phase porte-cochere. You've awarded the money, you've allowed the variance, and now we want to hire the contractor to construct it for us. Do I have Horizon here? You do. Oh, great. Okay. Horizon is here. So we'd like to build it. We appreciate the opportunity to do that. Happy to have any questions.
The only thing I would like to add is I know like the seniors have been advocating for this for a long time, and so I'm glad that it's finally being done. It's definitely needed, so I appreciate everybody who's involved to get this done.
Thank you for the support.
Move to approve the agreement with Horizon International Group through the Choice Partners Job Order Contract, JOC Cooperative Purchasing Network, to construct a porte-cochere extending from east end assembly room entrance of the senior center in an amount not to exceed $132,130, and authorize the city manager to sign related documents upon legal review.
Motion passes unanimously.
The next one, a change order?
No, don't jinx me, Councilman.
Item F, consider an agreement with Horizon International Group through the Choice Partners JOC Cooperative Purchasing Network to remove existing lights, provide and install 9 new lights per plans in and around the downtown parking lot in the amount not to exceed $139,700, and authorize the city manager to sign related documents upon legal review.
All right, thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Happy to bring this forward. This was a project that was budgeted, it was discussed. It was part of the strategic plan as far as enhancing the aesthetics downtown. And it just so happens that one of the particular light poles in this array was hit by a car, and the pole bolt alignment is, since that pole is no longer manufactured, the bolt alignment for a new pole does not fit. And so now we're able to not only replace all of the poles, but they'll all be in harmony as far as styling, and they'll be LED. So, and we're actually reducing it from 14 to 9 lights. So, probably if we have them on file. I don't know if it was a hit and run or not.
Why are we reducing it?
Because the beam spread, the lights that we have now are metal halides, and these are LEDs, and so we're able to meet that standard beam spread according to our electrical engineer. And so we're pretty excited about that.
That's great. And where all of these going?
They're going to go in and around the downtown parking lot, Sealy at Gordon Street. There is some lights there that are actually within the sidewalk, which makes it, again, and one of the reasons why the car hit it was because it was relatively in the middle of the sidewalk, and they inadvertently came off the road for whatever the reason. These are going to be moved and put in the grass area. They'll be not in the sidewalk as maybe a barrier or cause any type of obstruction for pedestrians. So it'll be within the lot and then around the sidewalk.
Perfect. Anything else?
What style light?
We matched the style that's on Willis Street. They call them gooseneck, where you have a double fixture pole with two fixtures on each pole.
Do we have several designs currently for our lights?
So, to answer your question, no, we do not, because I'll use the National Oak Park lights as an example. Although those are not necessarily LED, they have LED bulbs in them, but that styling with the gooseneck and the bell-shaped fixture, that was inspired the design for Willis Street, which inspired the fixtures for this parking lot. So now we've got I'll say some continuity.
Good.
Excellent. Anybody else?
I move to approve the agreement with Horizon International Group through the eChoice Partners Cooperative Purchase Network and total not to exceed the amount of $139,700 for the replacement of downtown parking lot lighting, and authorize the city manager to sign related documents upon legal review.
Second.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Oh, not right now. I'll see you at budget time. All right, thank you very much.
Go home, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
We're out of money.
All right, moving on to item D. Discuss draft ordinance amending chapter 15 offenses and miscellaneous provisions of the City of Alvin Code of Ordinances by adding the article 9. Is that 11? Oh, 11, my bad. 11, electroengineering at polling locations, section 15-123, purpose, section 15-124, definitions, section 15-125, electioneering on the city-owned facilities and grounds, providing for regulations of electioneering conducted on city property used as election polling locations, amending chapter 17 and 1/2, signs of the City of Alvin Code of Ordinances, Article 4, construction, placement, and maintenance, section 17.5-41, temporary political signs on private property, providing for severability, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $500 for each offense, providing for an effective date, and providing for publication.
That's a lot, right? So just to cap that all together, if you'll remember, at our meeting last month, we had 2 visitors who came and presented some frustrations that they had at the recent March primary election at our voting location at the Alvin Library. So what I did is I took our current ordinance that we have in place, which we don't have anything on electioneering, so I went and I researched several other cities and came up with some best practices for us. So if you will look at the next slide, I am going to just overview what the changes in the ordinance are. If you can see this, I think this is in your packet as well, but this is a picture of the library, and the arrow is the actual entrance into the library where voters will come in. The other part is where you'll see yellow and white. That's the actual parking lot. So what I'm proposing is to the placement of canopies limited to that yellow space right there in the library. There are 13 places, and Dan and I have spoken, and we will be restriping this parking lot to match kind of the associated colors. So keeping the canopies to that area, and keeping the canopies tent size to 10 by 10, which is pretty normal standard size for a small canopy. The canopies must be placed on site daily, an hour before polls close. There were some instances during March where people left their tents, things were blown over, then people were accused of stealing tents, and so it was just a whole big thing. So recommend to keep them from putting up daily, and they must remove them daily as well, an hour after the polls close. And then if you'll see, the spaces that are marked in white will be for patron parking for voters on site casting a ballot, or for staff there. And then moving on to the next page, just to clarify this in the ordinance, we didn't have this problem, but I foresee it maybe in the future. Some people will take a vehicle or a tractor or a RV and place their political signs, taking up a lot of parking spaces. So this addresses that within the ordinance. Not to say they can't, get permission across the street or some other business around there, just because we have such a limited area for parking. The other item reduces, when I spoke with the elections department at the county, she said this was a huge factor this last election, was the massive signs and the amount of signs. Currently our ordinance says 10 signs, which they exceeded that, but I propose even reducing that down to 4 and reducing the size. Right now, the current size allowed is 36 square foot by 8 foot. That's a pretty big sign. To reduce that to 6 square feet and 4 feet in height, which you can see here. That's kind of, you can see it as you drive down Gordon. You can also see it as you walk in. And that a major problem was the blocking vehicular traffic's view. And so I think lowering the height, shrinking the size of the sign will also help. So in a nutshell, that's all. I think if we fix those core issues, I think that will fix it. Now, this will not be ready for the May election, because that just starts in a few weeks, which I think will be okay because it's just a municipal election. But November, we're also used every, you can cast a ballot at any location throughout the county. So you have candidates who come to Alvin to, gain support. So November will be a different story, and they will also be opening the Alvin ACC Nolan Ryan Center. That will be an additional voting location. Now, we don't have jurisdiction over that, but I did speak with Lisa at the elections office, and she was going to have a conversation with them to see if we could kind of mirror and get at least the signs toned down a bit. So with that, those are the changes that I suggest. I'd open it up for discussion, comments, concerns.
So this is for November.
Yes, by the time we get this and get it published and everything, it'll be ready. It'll be in place. That'll give us time to communicate with the county, with everyone on the ballot, and there are other cities within the county looking at doing something like this, because evidently there was issues, and it has been reviewed by city attorney. It's been reviewed for our chief of police, so neither had any concerns.
Do we have a line out there that I know you
We
you
have-
can't cross. Do
we
we have one
do.
painted out there?
We do not, but when the election judges are responsible for doing that every day. So they go out and make sure that the 100-foot marker is in place.
Do you know approximately where that is?
Uh-huh.
That's changed.
It's from 100 foot from the front door, and so that's pretty much at the parking lot where it starts.
It used to be right there in front of the ADA parking spots, and this year they had it along where your little yellow box is.
Uh-huh.
The primary election, they wouldn't allow them to cross the edge of those parking spaces.
Oh, really?
And, I mean, I don't,
I think that's because they were using the side door as
side
the front
door.
door, and they had to switch back to the other door.
Yeah, they need,
Maybe.
and we'll have that conversation to make sure, because that just limits our we have no parking at this location. So, as long as
and
they're,
parking is not an issue, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Parking is really not an issue during those primaries. It's our municipal election, the school board election during Frontier Day. That's when parking is an issue. I mean, a lot of people try to go vote on that Saturday because they're already out, and
and
there's nowhere to get in.
we're unfortunately going to have that issue this year again.
I think this applies to this conversation as well, but Richard made a good point. I think it should be established because they have, every time I've been up for election, like that 100-foot marker has changed every single time. It's different. So I think maybe having staff or someone out there to like actually officially.
That's the county, elections department.
have a
But yeah,
conversation. Okay.
but
Yeah.
we,
That-
so I know that it did change because of the side door. You used to be able to go, but that's been a while.
I haven't been able to go in the side door since I ran.
Yeah, and they should, it's just from the front entrance where the voters enter. So I'll have that conversation
Yeah,
with
we'll make
Lisa
sure.
and make sure that we
But we
get that
can't-
situated.
necessarily change it. Like,
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying? Like, we can't tell them where to put it. We can just make sure that it's being that it's
Consistent.
consistent.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be good. Another concern I have is having the tents brought down every day and put back up every day. For these candidates that are running county-wide where they have 13 other spaces, I would hate Alvin to have the reputation of being like the pest. Like, I know that like there's just one city in the county specifically, like everybody despises going to because I think they're overly strict on their polling location. I have a hard time thinking that that's actually realistic to think a candidate that is running a countywide or statewide, whatever kind of race it may be, that's bigger than Alvin especially, can come down, take a tent down every night, and then also within an hour especially, and then try to be there, because it's a campaign. Everybody's competitive, and everybody wants to be the first one to get the best spot, just naturally. And so to try to be there, the first person to get that premier location, I don't think that's I don't think that's sustainable, really. And I think it would hurt us in the long run. I think it would hurt like reputation wise, like for example, like the city I was mentioning, it was Rich. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I won't tell you the name. I won't tell you the name. But it's just like, everybody just like despises going there, and I don't want Alvin to have the same narrative of candidates like despising to come over here to campaign.
But you also have people that go set up tents and there's nobody in it.
Yeah.
No,
So it's
that's
like the people that
definitely a
leave
problem.
The towels at the beach on the chairs. Like,
Yeah.
it's annoying. They never come and they just leave them there, and they get to leave them for the whole season.
Yeah.
It's not fair. So to me, you should. I
Well,
don't
if
think
you're
it's too much to ask. If you're gonna have volunteers there, they bring it and they take it down.
Maybe we can require if they're putting a tent up, they have to have volunteers there. Because then they would be responsible for putting them up and taking them down.
But then
Yeah.
how do you enforce that? What's the
Having-
penalty? Who's enforcing this?
I guess we could get extra tents for the city.
Question, if we're gonna reduce signage from 10 to 4, who's doing the enforcement?
Code enforcement.
Okay.
We're gonna have code enforcement go out.
Well, once they learn it, I mean.
Yeah, and we'll work closely with elections, with code, and be sure that our office, along with Peter, were available during that time. It's a window of 2 weeks, so,
Yeah.
you know,
I understand what Joelle is saying, but I think the cost of having a bad reputation during election season, it's not that big of a risk in comparison to our citizens not having parking at the library. Because even especially during a long, like early voting period, there's people that come to the library every day with their kids, and, people who use the library for work and computer access and things. And so I think it's better to make sure that they have a place to park that's close enough, so that way it can be accessible. So I think this is just kind of a trade-off, but it's worth it. So, but I understand the inconvenience of what you're talking about, but I just think it's better to have parking.
Well, to your point, Megan, I think that's the point of having it mapped out of designated spots for tents. So no matter what, the tents are going to be there because that's where they're designated to be at.
Right, but they're,
So it doesn't, like, the trade-off of people being able to park versus having people come down, take down tents and put them up every day,
I
or
just
get
don't
fined
think it's-
$500.
I just
or
don't think it's that
good with that.
important to do
I
that.
don't know how much.
And not all those spaces are taken up all the time too, so if there's no tents there, people can park there. So, but also, the reduction from 10 to 4, is that what other municipalities are doing? That they have 4 as their,
usually it's 4 to 5.
okay.
What about, the other city parking lots, or city parking in general? So like you said about somebody bringing a bus with their name on it, could they just park it across the street, or park it on the other side of the library?
It's a private property, and they get permission from
What
the owner.
about city parking?
What city parking?
Like just the street side parking, or the parking lot that's at the corner of Celia and Gordon?
Yeah, across the street from the library.
Willis and Gordon, what that parking lot, right across from Gordon Street Tavern, is that city or?
It's,
Oh.
no, I think the
That's
chamber
private.
owns it, and then part of that, it's part of the building.
Yeah,
Part of the building.
that was
so-
private.
So, switching gears to the vehicle one. So I know a couple candidates wrap their vehicles, just like their normal everyday vehicle. It's not a bus, just a truck, car. And I know some other candidates and their volunteers, especially, like they'll put a sign, while they're parked, like on the windshield. From my understanding, that it says vehicles of any type are prohibited. So would those also be included? Like if a candidate has a wrap truck saying, "Sorry, you can't park here. Got to go park."
Need to because that's that's taking up
Or in a yellow
patron
spot, okay.
parking. We only have 50 parking spots open, available, and so if you have, and I'm just, if you have 10 candidates and every person, that's taking up 10 parking spots for voters, and that's who I'm looking out for, is
Yeah, for sure.
is our voters.
That's another good point is, what about the volunteers parking? Maybe they should park off-site and
Yes.
park or something.
Yes. And it will be kind of difficult to enforce, but we'll just have to work with it. And, if our election workers see a vehicle parked there for all day, every day for 2 days, we can go out and have a discussion and talk. We just want to educate. We're not going to go throw down the hammer. We just want to have something with some teeth in it to make people, adhere to the law. So. But it's ultimately up these are recommendations. If you decide you want to change something, let us know, because our intent is to bring this ordinance back for consideration and approval at the next meeting.
I like it.
I do too.
I think the double spaces for the yellow, that's pointless, because anybody closer to the street side, away from the library, nobody's gonna wanna be right there. Cause you have to talk through, like Glenn's campaigning, I'm campaigning, he's in front of me, people are walking on the other side of him, I can't even get to them. Those are pointless. And honestly, the voter turnout in Alvin, what's the most we've had vote in a single day at the library?
But it doesn't just include us, it includes the whole county.
I understand that, but
Right.
how many, it shows the polling locations, how many voters
I don't know that off
voted.
the top of my head.
So it just, it's very hard to believe that they didn't have any parking whatsoever. Cause I showed up at the polls at least every other day, different times of the day, maybe 50% full at one time. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that was the issue.
do you wanna take off those back lots and put them maybe on the side, on the Gordon Street side?
Even if they're marked off in yellow, but let's say somebody doesn't put a tent there, that's still a parking spot for a voter, even if it's marked off. Yeah.
What's that?
So those back parking spaces, even if they're marked, they don't necessarily have to be used for tents. They could, you know, if it's empty, someone could park there if they wanted to.
Designated parking spaces for the people that are using the tents.
That's where I would park
Or,
anyway,
see,
next to my vehicle.
That's what I would do. I mean, I'd put my tent up. I mean, in the 10x10, I'm just being biased because I have a 10x20 and I always let somebody share it with me, so I'm just being biased. Yeah, I gotta go get a new tent now.
Borrow mine.
I'll sell you one.
No, thank you.
I'll sell you a nice 10x10.
What if we took that bottom row of parking spots and moved them over to the Gordon side? Or the parking lot? Then that way they could, if they got vehicles that are wrapped, for instance, something like that, they could use those as their.
Which one are you talking about?
So you've got double the parking spaces there on top of each other. Take that back row and move it over there next to Gordon.
Oh, over here,
Yeah.
where the 8 are?
You have to take all of them, with just equal amount of
Yeah,
spots.
just the equal amount of spots, I guess.
Okay. We can do that, if that's what
Might help
everybody
with their-
wants to do.
Their parking, I mean, how many tents do we normally have out there? Maybe 4?
4 or 5, maybe 6.
Yeah. So I mean, the tents could still go over there in those spots that we have marked off, and then we could let them park their minions over there.
So just keep this side, right there, the yellow, that one strip, and then make 3 other ones on the other side? Is that what you're talking about?
I think he's saying like keep 1 through 7 and then
Yes.
8 through 13. Push to
Move
Gordon Street,
Push it
Yeah.
to the Gordon Street side.
Okay,
where 8 parking spaces are at.
Yeah, 'cause doubling up those, if we were doubling up the tents, is that what you were talking about, Richard? If we were doubling tents back to back on it? I'm yelling through Richard to talk to somebody, and I don't wanna have to assault him.
So if somebody came with, say, a 10x20 tent, but they shared it with
Theoretically.
somebody,
I mean,
Hypothetically.
would they have a problem with that? I mean,
we're just trying to, you know, set some, right.
haven't signed off.
So we really didn't have 10x10 each.
Or you could even just put 10x10 per
Per
candidate,
candidate.
Could do
per
that.
There you
campaign.
go.
Oh, there you
Good
go.
job. That's the attorney talking.
That's
right
the
there.
attorney talking right
Good
there.
job, Megan.
The gray area,
That's the
right?
gray area.
Another thing, I don't know if this is major, but Dixie, on it says, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Allen, Texas. Yeah, it says Allen.
Oh, we'll fix that. It's
Why
probably a
can't I pick
typo.
Well,
Dixie alone.
I mean, if we voted,
Unruh hasn't been.
No,
here.
I'll fix it. No, we're not voting
on it.
tonight.
well, I'm just saying, like, you know,
I didn't even see that.
Allen, Texas.
I don't even see it.
He's nitpicking.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joelle, for reading it. I really do appreciate it.
Chris doesn't.
I like it.
I don't appreciate Joel. Anything else, guys?
So we're good?
When we had the citizens, the people that came and talked to public speaking, one of the primary concerns that they had, aside from this, the problems that were in the parking lot and such, was the homeless personnel going in and using the facilities and such. Okay, to the best of my knowledge and understanding, one is that the library is public, and therefore the people can go in and use the facilities. If they were charging admission at the door, they could then prohibit. And so in that capacity, we have no jurisdiction to just go in there and run them out at random. And who's to say they're not looking for a book? So that was one concern that was brought up the last time, which we have no control over.
But that's a all the time thing, or just during election?
Well, that was during the election is primarily what they were talking about.
Yeah,
Because
they were
there to
talking,
witness it, that's why.
Yeah, they were talking about that, but it's an ongoing issue. And there was another time where the library was locked at nighttime and somebody didn't know that there was a person in the restroom staying there. And they were locked inside the facility. But the point is that the position of the restrooms are in relation to where they're at in the building, that there's no control as to the access getting into the building. If the librarians were at the front door and the restrooms were in the back, then we could control that. You have to have a library card to get into the building. But right now, the restrooms are wide open right at the front door.
There's no restrooms in the library itself? Just
No,
inside the front door?
I think it's just the front door, up at the front. So the way to solve that is put a magnetic reader on the restrooms, and you have to use your library card to go into the restroom. Just saying.
Or Danzy?
There's one restroom for the staff in the break room.
Yep.
Or the area of the break room.
Is there, and I'm just throwing this out there, is there room to put a restroom inside of the library? Do they have room for it? Probably not, but.
I'm happy to put a budget together and come back in a future council meeting.
I'm just curious, because I mean, that way we could do like Martin said, and close those restrooms at the front and move them into the building itself.
Happy to take a look at whatever y'all would like to do.
Checking the legality. We would need to check on the legality of prohibiting them. Because there's not an admission fee with a library card. And so it's just my basic understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that to prohibit going into the building, if it's public, you have to allow them to use the restroom. If you charge admission at the door, say the museum, that's not public. So, anyway, before you go and he wants to spend more money, we want to check on that.
Yeah. All right, y'all ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We don't need any action on that, correct, Dixie?
Yes, sir, we'll
Okay.
bring it back at the next meeting. Thank you.
All right, reports from the city manager?
Oh, that's me right now. Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Can we get,
Yes.
consider if any requests from individual council members, for any items or items to be placed on the upcoming agenda? Richard?
No.
Martin?
No, sir. No, sir? Nothing at this time.
All right. Thank you, guys. Now report from the city manager.
Okay, so the next meeting will be April 18th. We will have a workshop, zoning with Olson and Olson at 6 p.m. downstairs conference room. And that's all I have for now for that next meeting, other than the ordinance. Alvin, this is very neat. Thank you, Athlon. Alvin will receive the music-friendly certified city designation at a ceremony scheduled for Thursday, May 16th. So mark your calendars from 5:30 to 6:30 at the train depot. We will have a live band and have scheduled light entertainment. Refreshments will be served, and council is invited that evening. It is right before a city council meeting, so.
What day is that again?
May 16th. 5:30 to 6:30.
Can I ask what does that mean? Music friendly.
It just means we received that designation from the Office of the Governor to kind of.
Friendly.
Yes,
Similar?
to kind of promote the city of Alvin as a music-friendly location.
So is that like something we'll have to adopt?
No, we've already adopted it.
Okay.
It's the governor, yeah.
I missed y'all that day
You
too.
missed us.
I missed you so dearly that day.
And early voting for the charter election will begin April 22nd at the Alvin Library. May 4th is the actual voting day for all area municipal elections. And that's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Dixie. And items of community interest? Glenn?
Nothing.
I think it's really cool that the VFW is doing a fundraiser at the barbecue. I had a couple people reach out to me that's similar to what happened during Music Fest. They didn't know that the park was being closed, and I haven't done our due diligence in looking if we posted anything about it on social media. But if we, when the VFW does something at Briscoe, if we could post something just saying like, hey, the VFW's in it for this fundraiser, park's closed. So, but other than that, that's all.
No, sir.
Nothing, sir.
All right, thank you. And with that, we're going to, well, I just did human entrance. Executive session. Under section 551.072 of local government code provides for the following deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real properties. And then we'll reconvene to this session. And it is 7:55. I'm reconvening us from the executive session at 8:25 PM. And no action taken, and we are adjourned 8:25 PM.